Okay, I think that we should go ahead and at least get started with the people that we have on the line. So the first thing we're going to do is just want to welcome everybody back from the new year. And also, I wanted to do a couple, the attendance to see. So it looks like from Lewis and Clark, we have 4 people on the phone. Mantricon, we have 2. Methodist College, we have 1. And OAI, we have 1. Youth Build Lake County, we have 1. And then we have Aaron, excuse me, everyone, as other. Is there any other organizations that want to go ahead and click that link just to make sure we are all here? Alrighty. So I just wanted to do a couple reminders to let everyone know that the PPR and the PFR, which is your quarterly reports, are due at the end of the month. If you want to go ahead and start looking those over, the last ones that you sent in to us, go ahead and start looking those over, but that report is due on the 30th. If you have any questions, email me, call me, so we can review those reports. You will need a trial balance with that, so if you want to start talking to your accounting department about that document, I just wanted to really brief remind people of that. Another reminder is that the formal monitoring, so we did have like the preliminary monitoring out a couple weeks ago. The formal monitoring will happen within the first quarter of this year, and that can be that will be scheduled with you all. But we wanted to do one more unofficial monitoring just to make sure all groups are ready for the formal monitoring and answer any questions. Some of the basic things that we just must have for that monitoring is making sure you have folders for all of your participants. The appropriate eligibility documentation is in those folders, and that you are, and if you have any other questions, so like if you're working with your local workforce development center or anybody that's doing your eligibility, making sure that you guys see both all your participants in IWIDS as well as Illinois Worknet. So if we could make sure by the end of this week that everybody that's in your program that's eligible, that has the proper documentation, if we can make sure that we have them in both systems by the end of this week, and that's something that we will be checking and, excuse me, scheduling individual meetings as necessary. So just wanted to give you guys those quick updates. I have received business engagement plans from everyone. We will review them. The next step regarding that is you will get an email from us that says your business engagement plan is approved, or you will get an email from us that says, hey, we need to discuss this. Can you fix this? And so that'll be the next step, excuse me, with those business engagement plans. Chelsea, can you open the lines up, or if you could, everybody, if you could unmute yourselves. Does anyone have any questions about just the reminders that we just spoke about? Okay. All right, the next thing is going to be our project share out or check-in. The first group I want to go ahead and start with is Val Harris at Lewis and Clark. Val, if you're muted, you may have to unmute. Let's go ahead and skip over to Youth Build Lake County. All right, let's go to Mantricon.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Mantricon, we're doing well. Right now we have 3 youth in our class along with some dislocated adult workers. We're getting ready to enroll by the end of January 3 more youth.
This is Devin.
Hold on, Devin. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I was
No,
just calling. I had to use my phone. It wouldn't let me do it on the computer.
Okay.
But update.
Hold on 1 second, Devin. Go ahead,
Okay.
Menchicon.
Okay, so the classes are going well. Right now, my first 5 students have passed their first certification exam. Next week, they're taking their second certification exam. I have one client getting ready to take his first certification exam next week as well. So everything is moving along smoothly. Everybody, case notes are up to date. Everybody that is in IWIS is in Illinois Worknet, and vice versa. And so right now, smooth sailing.
Awesome. So we're going to have a total of 6 youth by the end of January.
Yes.
And you already have your folders and everything for those youth, and eligibility has already been established?
Oh, yeah, because we're in LWIA, so they're already good to go.
I figured.
Yeah. I'm very fortunate. Yes, I am. I know. Yes.
So do you have a total of 6 between the 3 that are currently enrolled and 3 that are going to be enrolled in January? Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and I had a couple more, but no shows, so yeah.
Okay, and then you said which ones have passed the test?
Let's see. 5 have passed well, I'm sorry, of my youth. 2 have passed their Certification 1 test, and they're getting ready to take their Certification 2 in the MSSC. And then I have one young boy, not young, but one youth that is getting ready to take his first certification exam. So next week.
Okay.
And then the 3 I'm getting ready to start, of course, are all youth.
Great, sounds good.
LWIA 25.
Yes.
Okay. Devin, go ahead.
All right. Well, we currently have 6 individuals that's going to get started with their post-secondary education. Well, that also could be considered in training as well. We have 3 students that will be starting at the College of Lake County, going into 2 in automotive, and 1 is doing a computer software program. And then we have 3 other individuals that are going to be doing the Class D water operator class, and they're going to actually get started with their classes the week after next week. All these individuals have folders submitted to our local workforce, and eligibility has been determined, I want to say, on 4 out of all 6 of them. I need to get 1 ISS completed with a student and submitted, and I think that is, for the most part, about it for the students in their eligibility and enrollment portion for the Youth Build Lake County. And they should be starting classes on Monday, and that should be about it.
Okay. And you have 6 enrolled youth, right?
Correct.
Okay, awesome. And their folders are made and their eligibility is established?
That is correct.
Awesome, awesome. And they're in Illinois Worknet and IWIDS? I mean, IWDS.
To my knowledge, I got an email from Chris Liskey with a confirmation of who has been in the the IWDS, and the only person that needs to be added is a student I need to complete an ISS for.
Okay.
And then I guess it was just one other student she had to plug in, and she needed that, and that was it for the most part.
Perfect. But that relationship with LWIA 1 is going smoothly as far as you being able to enter them in Illinois Worknet, and then you're either sending an email or a phone call to say, hey, they're in, make sure they're in IWIDS. Okay, perfect.
Well, so she's actually so they had like an application already that I had students start to fill out, but then the Illinois Worknet system generated an application that was identical, exactly the same, and so she's been printing off the applications online. Then the students have just been signing from there.
Awesome. Okay.
Hello, this is Jim Potts here. I have a little bit of input on this one.
Okay.
Right now, you only have one person showing up as a registrant in IWDS. It's Tommy Houston.
Well, she sent me a form that says that Natalie is already in is certified, enrolled in
Yep,
IWDS
there's
as a 12th.
a certified, but these people haven't been enrolled yet. And what the direction Chris had said was that training was starting next week. But as I expressed to Chris, training is not the first service. You have the ISS, like you spoke about, that needs to be documented. So I sent Chris some additional email traffic, so hopefully you and her can get on the same page as far as communication, because I think there's a miscommunication, because it appears she's waiting to just document training, and that's not the only service that should be documented. So
I've already submitted the ISS forms over to her. The only one that has not been submitted was the one that I needed to complete.
Okay, so Devin, can you do us a favor? Can you open up an email and resend those forms to her and put Jim, myself, and Tammy on there and say, hey, how many individuals do we have enrolled in the IWDS system? And, and please take a screenshot or whatever, but here are the ISS forms for the 6 enrolled youth that I have in Illinois Worknet.
Okay, my question, do you want the form that she sent me to, the Excel spreadsheet that she sent me as well?
No.
Okay.
No, I just want whatever she's missing, but pretty much just send her an email, put us on there, just
Okay.
to clarify, because Jim is the person that can look in the system and say, like, he just did, we don't see these individuals having those forms. So it sounds like you've already sent them to her, so maybe, I don't know if she's misplaced them or whatever the case may be, but just put us on that email. That way we can kind of see where those youth are, because if you have 6 enrolled in Illinois Worknet, we want to see them in IWIDS as well.
Okay.
Okay? And then we'll work out, like, how you guys could do it once we get over this hump, how you guys can do it in the future to where, whether there's an email confirmation that she sends you, like a screenshot or something, ongoing, you say, hey, I entered Sammy in Illinois Worknet today, here's his application or whatever the case may be, and she sends you something back that says, entered in the system, training programs added, please see screenshot below or something like that. But
Okay.
let's first start with an email so we can make sure that those 6 that you have enrolled are over in her system as well.
We'll do so.
All right. Awesome. All right. It looks like Val Harris is ready. That's from Lewis and Clark. Awesome.
All right. Hi, everybody. So we think we have 19 in right now in Worknet, and we're not sure how many of those are showing up in IWDS yet. I think some of our Northern County students are not enrolled because they're waiting on some verification. They're in a juvenile justice center, and they're waiting for verification of that address or something. And we're just kind of trying to figure all that out.
Okay.
Does that match with what you guys have, though?
Hi, this is Jim. I've seen some email traffic last week. There were some folks that have been switched around, but what IWS shows right now for you guys, there's 5 people that's enrolled in services. That's what it has.
So go ahead and do the same thing that I instructed Devin to do.
Okay.
Put that email, say here are the 19 people that I have in my Illinois Worknet systems. Please see the screenshot below, and make sure that maybe they're missing, like I said, some documentation or something, so we can make sure those 19 transfer over to that other system.
We also have an additional 13 that are in the incurrent status, so I think I don't know if they're just missing. And Jim, what's your thought on that? Because we have 13 that are incurrent in IWDS. So they either need some additional information or the LWN needs to move them to the applicant.
Right. It's
or registrant.
That's that communication between the grantee and whomever's doing the IWDS that has to get straightened out, because Lewis and Clark's a little different because they're partnering with 2 different local workforce areas. So,
right.
So
that gives you 18
Yeah.
of the participants are either registrants or incurrents.
And that may be the right number, because but we need to rectify all that. And I know some of the issue, but I don't know all of it. But we have good. I know Michelle's on the line here, so she's hearing that too with 22. So I mean, we'll all talk and figure it out.
Yeah, but keep us on the email so that way we kind of know what's going on as well. And then that way we can kind of look in the system and say, hey, this is what we're seeing, this is what's going, the participants that are coming over as well.
And when you say us, is that Jim and Tara and Tammy?
Yep, TT and J.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, and on the inquiry status, they don't have career planners associated with those. I think one does. One has a career planner, Carolyn
Okay.
Trevine, but the rest of them don't have a career planner associated.
And
Okay.
Michelle said, I'm not called in, but I have an idea of what's going on. So
Well,
it sounds
good.
like we can get, yeah, she's writing again. Hold on, let's give her a second.
Okay. So we do, it's just new, I think, and there's a lot of documentation.
So all of those customers that are currently enrolled, where are they at, or what's their status as far as services?
Now that that is something that I don't know if Sabrina's having trouble with phones, and those guys are much more in tune with the services that have been put in. But most of them have been with us for almost a full semester, so they're moving along in terms of services, and a lot of them have credentials and all kinds of things. I just am not probably the right person to answer the question.
Michelle is saying that they need proof of eligibility still. One of my 5 for pathways needs proof of eligibility. One of my 5. Okay, so it sounds like I said, Val, if you can get us on that email so we can figure it out, because we need to make sure all of this is kind of completed by the end of this week, because we don't want formal monitoring to start and then that's a ding, and it's unnecessary. So let's see. I think Michelle's typing again. Okay, is there anything else you want to update us on?
Calling Lewis and Clark Community College.
No, that's
Your
it.
call may be monitored or recorded for training purposes.
I don't know why that's
If you
happening.
know your party's
okay.
four-digit extension, please dial it now.
Okay.
Or hold for more options.
All right, BCS, go ahead.
To dial by name, press 1.
Oh.
For enrollment services, press 2. For financial aid, press 3. For adult education.
Hello?
Uh-huh.
Did you say BCS?
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you with the phone thing. So we have 19 people enrolled in IWIDS. However, we have a discrepancy in Illinois Worknet, so we're trying to get that all resolved this week.
What's going on?
I'm looking at the reports, and I'm seeing that we have a little bit of work that we need to do in Illinois Worknet for suitability. And when I ran the report in Illinois Worknet, it says that we have 25 customers in here. One declined to participate, which we know about, but I want to make sure that we have everybody that's supposed to be in here, and everybody that maybe submitted an application maybe we have not been in contact with, because we have 19 at this point.
Okay.
So I'm working with Amanda to get that all addressed, to make sure that Illinois Worknet is matching IWIDS. But
okay.
My understanding is we have 9 in our Western cohort, and I'm sorry, 10 in our Western cohort and 9 in our Southern cohort.
Okay. Awesome. And you're working on Illinois Worknet. Sorry, I'm taking notes.
Is that what Jim is seeing as far as enrollments in IWIDS?
Yep, you got 19. You're 100% right.
Perfect.
Tammy, you can speak. I think they got some inquirement records too, don't they?
Yeah, let me take a look here, and that could be there is and we're doing that internally too, looking between the Worknet and IWIB. There are a couple. Yeah, there's a couple that need corrections for sure, and we can work on those offline. And on your incurrents, let me take a look here real quick. You have got, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that are in the incurrent status right now.
Are you talking in the Illinois Worknet? Yeah.
In IWDS. So you have 19 that are registered, and you have 6 that are in incurrent status right now in IWDS.
I'm wondering, if you can I want to ask Eddie if those inquirements are supposed to be for our Career Pathways grant. Eddie just walked in. Eddie, are these customers that are listed right here that are inquirent status in IWIS, are these Career Pathways grantees?
Those are individuals that they did not, they opted not to participate.
So do we just need to, just clean them up in IWIS, in Illinois Worknet by saying decline not to participate? Is that what we need to do?
Yeah, anytime, and we can discuss this, in Worknet, you will need to mark them. It's under your suitability whether you enroll them or not. If you're not going to be enrolling them in the program, you need to mark them as either not suitable or decline to participate.
Okay, because Eddie thought that he did that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
we'll take a look at that. We actually had our programmers to add that to our export list, so I'm probably by our next report we're going to have that information to see who's been marked as far as, and then those customers we won't worry about anymore, because you have a couple of them that are in Illinois Worknet that are not in IWDS either, so probably those customers are ones that you put in and they either weren't suitable or they declined. So for our next report, we're going to actually have that information so that we can kind of go through that and realize these customers are no longer in the pool.
Okay.
But yeah, you do have 19. Like I said, we can work offline on this too, where some discrepancies may be happening. And then you've got the few of them in the incurrent status, the 6.
All right. That's where the 25 comes. Okay. All right, well, we'll try to get that all cleaned up by the end of this week.
Okay. So what services are they receiving right now?
They had just finished boot camp. Our boot camp is a 5-week boot camp where they learned, obvious job readiness training, career exploration services. They had toured manufacturing employers. They were doing Makers Lab training and robotics training. They did OSHA. They did forklift training and certification, shop math. What else did they do? Financial literacy.
And I know, Lisa, you wanted to change the language in your scope of work because you guys wanted to give them the stipend earlier or something like that.
Right. So what happened was what our original intent was, but what ended up being in our scope had used previous language. What we want to do and have been doing is instead of them waiting the 5 weeks to actually, if they're in attendance and working on working, within the boot camp, that we wanted to help them to be able to then make it there. By providing them their stipend every 2 weeks of that boot camp. But in our scope of work, we said upon successful completion, and so we wanted to change that language so that it was not a hardship on our young people to participate in 5 full weeks of training.
And we will be doing modifications. So if anybody needs specific modifications starting this month, with the GATA process, there's some documents, especially for the budget side, that need to be utilized. So with this month, if you need a modification, I think that, Tara, who do we have that has requested already?
We have Methodist College has requested a modification. Prairie State has successfully executed their modification. The Cabot Group has requested a modification, and that's it. And BCS will most likely need to do a modification for their scope of work.
Yeah, it's just the language. It's not going to change as far as our budget is concerned.
That'll be simple then. Yeah. Okay. Great.
It's just a language change in the way that we wanted to implement that stipend.
The stipends. Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah. And then, so they just finished their boot camp, and they're about ready to get their assignments for their internships.
No, they're in jobs, yeah.
So, yes,
internships
actually started.
Yeah, they started.
My gosh, I was off for the holidays, and look, everything just kept going. Yeah,
Yep.
they started this week.
Yes. They started on the 2nd, that's correct.
Right, this week.
Great. Okay. So the only thing we have from BCS will be a modification of scope of work. All right. And then working on the Illinois Worknet issue.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay. City of Peoria, go ahead, and then go ahead and talk about the budget modification piece.
Okay, thank you. And I do apologize. I am multitasking right now. So there's a number of different things that I'm doing in this moment. So can I just get an update of what we are discussing?
Go ahead. Yeah.
No,
Oh,
neither-
sorry.
what
We
are we
just the brief update. How many people you have enrolled? Make sure they're in Illinois Worknet and IWIDS, and then we were discussing any modifications or anything that individual organizations need.
Okay, very good. So we have 10 enrolled in our in IWDS as well as in Illinois Worknet. I think there may be 11 in Illinois Worknet. Although we have lost two, well, really one has sort of resigned from the program, but I'm not quite sure how to identify that in IWDS.
It's a matter of closing out services. Let's say, for example, the person was in your internship and then they no longer participating, so you would close, the local workforce folks who's doing your IWS would close that service as unsuccessful.
Okay.
But one of the issues with, when I look in IWS, is most of your clients, or all of them, the only service they have documented is a career planning. So it's something that I think you and your partners need to make sure that we got the appropriate services recorded, because it looks like it's lacking documentation of the services.
Now, are those documents, are those services documented through the ISS and those case notes?
Well, how it works for a service is you can request a service through Illinois Worknet, but your partner who does IWDS, they have to physically put the service in IWDS. So what are some of the services your clients are obtaining or doing right now? What have they been receiving? Because right now when I look at IWDS, it says they had career planning back in October, and that's the only thing that's been done with them.
Okay, yeah, no, and that career planning was probably done by, it was the, them coming in and doing a workshop on the resources at Illinois Worknet. Our participants have done field work, mentorship, classroom work, a significant levels of leadership development. So we would then need to coordinate better with our partners at IWDS to ensure that they are making those notes. Now, would those notes appear in the case notes for them to, log that in IWDS? Like, how would we be disseminating that information to them?
Well, you should have a two-way communication with them. There are tools within Worknet where you can request a service, but what it sounds like is that there's a miscommunication between you guys, and whomever's doing your IWDS.
Yeah, and to reiterate that, you should be in Worknet, you can add services. So anything that you guys are doing should initiate from the Worknet system. So any time here, future application should start there, and then that will go to the IWDS contact to request finishing of the application and eligibility and getting them IWDS. And even in Worknet, all the services, Jim is actually going to, and I'm not sure if it's been done yet, but we're going to add all of the youth services in Worknet so they're available to you. At one point, it was kind of streamlined and there was only certain services available, but we're going to add all WEOS services that are available to youth within Worknet. So you can go into your customers file or the customer's case number in the system, and then you can go to services and outcomes, and you can add services right there. So when you add a services, and I know Natasha's done some training on this, and I think probably we need to go through this again. When you add a service to this, if it's going to be funded, through through IWDS, you need to identify the funding source also with that. But the initiation part needs to come from the Worknet system.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah, so just go into a customer and then go to where it says services and outcomes, and you can look at where it says add a service, and you can add a service right there. And then that will translate
it.
it.
Backdate it, so from November and December, or is that option available?
That is, and that's something that Jim will probably have to talk about. It just depends. There's a lot of things like your application date or your contact date.
Yeah, they're fine with that because they had a service documented back on 10/24.
Oh, okay.
So they can document anything after that. So if these services had taken place in November and stuff, yeah, most definitely the folks doing IWDS will be able to do that.
Okay, but on our end in Illinois Worknet, would we be able to go in and do that, and then it will be able to link? Because I mean, my understanding from the training, I guess this was the one I went to in September, the end of September. The two systems, Worknet and IWDS, are sort of talking with one another. So if we're putting in information, it's being captured in IWDS. So could we backdate the services we've done for November and December, or would we, because we are behind, would all that need to be done in IWDS?
You should be able to, but try it and let us know because, like Jim said, you've got a service in there that's in October anyway. So as long as you have a service that's in there, you should be able to document those. And I'm trying to pull your files right now. This is City of Peoria, correct?
Yes. Yes, City of Peoria.
So you have 11 in there. Yeah, you should be able to. But like I said, once again, try it. And then if not, you can contact me, Tammy Stone, and then we can work with Natasha to get the information in there that needs to be in there.
Okay, excellent. And again, I don't know if what I'm saying is making sense, but the ISS, I understand in that suitability form that there are case notes. Do the case notes complement the service, or is there any sort of integration with that at all, or is that something separate?
The case notes it's a great question. It puts your word picture along with the service. So that would make a lot of sense if you're doing a good job case noting it. But that's not going to populate the service. That's kind of going to support what's been going on with the client. So if you've been doing that, excellent. That's really good because there's a lot of folks that aren't case noting. So if that's something you're doing, that's great.
Yeah, but I think we will probably have to go back in because we're case noting for our own purposes, understanding that it's a need for this grant, but haven't had the same kind of confidence with Worknet to enter it in. But we're gaining more confidence with it and working through that more. But it looks like we have to be more intentional about the service piece, adding the services into Worknet and it then transferring over to IWDS.
Yeah, that's correct. It should initiate within the Worknet. And I'm just looking at a client. You do have, some good case notes. And it's like Jim said, the case note should tell a story, and it should complement what you're doing as far as the service delivery is concerned. So this particular customer, you've got like a career planning, case management, and transportation services. Transportation's not complete yet, but it's entered in there. So, yeah, you just need to make sure you're adding all services that are relevant for the specific customer.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
And as Jim has said, I think to you guys in the past, the first service should be your ISS, that you're doing your plan with them. So your first service should be that, the career planning, case management services.
Okay, all right.
Is that correct, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, in the way it works, every individual youth client has to have an individual service strategy, so that should be documented. But they have career planning, so it's in a sense a career plan is the individual service strategy. What they need to follow up with, just what we're talking about, is the rest of the services these clients have been getting. So if they've mentorship, leadership, all the different things that is being spoke about that they've gotten, none of those are recorded in IWDS. So like you had said, Tammy, those need to be first recorded and requested in Worknet, and then their partner needs to take the action to move them forward.
Okay.
Who is working with? Is it Dina or is it Bianca, or who's your partner with the IWDS portion?
Dina. So the career planner is Kathy Humphreys, and through Kathy, and Dina. They're the two that we're working with.
Okay, and you have a good communication with those folks?
It's getting better.
Okay. Yeah, because it's really essential that everybody's working together on the same page. So
Right. Yeah.
so
A lot of what I've A lot of what I've communicated in the very beginning was, help us help you make this more streamlined, because I know that they have other programs that they are working with, including the school district and Methodist. So we, wanted very much to work to ensure that we are not adding more than what is, required. So we're just kind of working through the communication of that.
Okay, well, that's going to be like a very key step, though. I just want all organizations to know that communication line between you and whoever is putting in your information into the IWDS system is critical, because you don't want to have one side where you're doing all this great work, but if we're not able to see it and document it, it's kind of like it never happened. And so you want to get credit for the work that you're actually doing with your projects. So that communication, if you take anything away from this phone call, is that we all need to go back and make sure, hey, do I need to send you weekly emails? Do I need to send you a daily email? Or what do we need to do to make sure the individual is not only enrolled in both systems, but that the appropriate services are being documented for each of those individuals? Because it sounds like that everyone's doing the work, but I'm not sure if we're going back in the systems and updating those services, and that's a very critical piece.
Okay, thank you, Tara. And then I think as it relates to a budget modification, and I had spoken or asked about this earlier, and just a matter of getting that information to you guys.
Okay. All right. Do you have any more updates? Oh, you talked about a budget modification. What's that for?
Oh, yeah, and that was the budget modification. I spoke about it or asked about it earlier, probably in November, and it's just a matter of getting that information to you all. I think you had shared with me is it a memo that we would need to submit?
Well, there's documentation. So but what do you need to adjust on the budget?
Oh, sure. There was
not the actual amounts, just kind of what you need to do with
sure.
it.
Moving resources from contractual into direct training. So at the time of our grant being awarded, we were still negotiating, working out the specifics for our industry-recognized credential, and had sort of budgeted for it way under what it ended up being for us to be able to run the program. And so the resources in contractual services, we were able to find resources, matched through the city, and would need to reallocate those dollars over to direct training to help us pay for the industry-recognized credential.
Okay, and what about your scope? Does that need to be adjusted in any way?
Well, I would have to go back to confirm.
Okay, because when we do the modification, we need to do one modification, and if it needs to be for the budget and scope, then that's fine. So go ahead, go back, and then just send us a quick email, like I said, with Tara, Tammy, and Jim on there. Not really. Yeah, I guess that's fine. And just say, hey, it looks like we're going to need to do a budget modification for the scope and as well.
Okay.
Okay.
And then quick question. I may have missed it. So what services are being provided right now? You have 10 enrolled, you said, right?
Mm-hmm. So we are also affiliated with AmeriCorps, and so our core members, our participants, are completing 900 service hours in field work around green infrastructure. So of that 900 hours, 20% of that is in classroom training, and the remaining is out in the field, sort of like the apprenticeship work. And we have two curriculums that we're working with, Roots of Success, which is an environmental literacy curriculum, and then the industry-recognized credential, which is NGICP, which stands for National Green Infrastructure Certification Program. We'll be implementing that curriculum in the second half of the program, and that's where they would test to obtain their credential in green infrastructure. But in addition to that, there is significant hours in leadership development, soft skills training, and mentorship.
Okay. And then you said you had 10 enrolled, but 2 dropped out, or
Well,
what's
yes.
the total
So,
number, including individuals that have dropped out of the program?
well, I'll say this. Technically, we have one that's in a suspension, an indefinite suspension, and this was a part of the sort of qualifications with our AmeriCorps grant. The young person had some trouble with the legal system, and so until that's rectified, he is in sort of an indefinite suspension. So I'm not wanting to identify him as closed out, just sort of in this indefinite suspension or suspended suspension.
Have you guys given him like a deadline? Because I mean, I'm like, hey, by March, if this is not done, we're permanently dropping you from the program. Because we don't want to leave that open until forever, right?
Right. No, of course. And no, with the AmeriCorps piece, there's also a timeline attached to that as well. So it's actually next week.
Okay.
There will be a court case that will determine what the next steps would be. But
Okay.
again, it's with the legal system, it has sort of elongated the time for what we could do with him. But I do know he still has interest in being in the program, and so I didn't want to close him out.
Right.
Identify him as exited when there is the potential for him to still come back.
Okay. And then the other person?
He has chosen to resign from the program. This was not a time commitment that he was willing to make.
Okay, so you guys have 9, possibly 8, and then you're going to update the system in iWitch just to show that one individual for sure that they don't want to do services anymore. Well, both systems, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
And this is Tammy. Are you going to be backfilling any of those that vacated or no?
If there is an option for us to, then I definitely would want to. And so that's where I'm sort of trying to work through AmeriCorps as well, because each individual is tied to the AmeriCorps dollars are where we get their stipend, their living allowance, and that living allowance is also attached to their service hours. So, and with a 6-month time period, that 900 hours is very time sensitive. So, if we were to bring someone in, we only have a small window of time for them to be able to take over a position if someone has dropped out, and that individual who chose to leave. Left after that window of time. So an individual would not have been able to obtain their full 900 service hours, and nor would they have had the dollars allocated to him or her in order to complete. So we're kind of stuck with that grant requirement.
Okay. Makes sense.
But for this grant, for the DCEO, is there the opportunity to replace if they don't? That won't disrupt, our resources.
Well, it depends upon, like you said, once you get in your scope of work and the activities offered too. And we can talk about that offline, but I would think, you'd want to be able to serve an additional person.
Yeah.
Just to see what that service delivery looks like, because it sounds like it would be different than what you're doing.
Okay, yeah.
In your grant agreement.
Yeah, so go ahead and check, like you said, check with your organization, see if you need a scope of work modification along with your budget modification. Send us an email and let us know.
Okay.
And then also, like Tammy was saying, we need to check on that. I know it's best if you can go ahead and fill those slots. That way
the numbers stay the same.
Exactly. And your dollar amount stays the same. That's the most important piece. So, like I said, just let us know.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. And I do apologize. Again, just trying to do a lot at once.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Thank you.
The next group, it looks like it is Methodist College.
Good morning. We are doing well. Our apprentices all received their nursing assistant certification, and have been placed in Unity Point hospitals. I think they're all at either Methodist Hospital or Pekin Hospital or Proctor Hospital at this time. So they are working and have spent, some of them have taken lots of extra shifts over our winter break. So we are on break right now, and they will come back on the 16th to start their coursework for their medical assistant program. And so they'll be working while they are taking classes. So we are doing well there. We have 6, and we just found out that we are losing 1 who is actually moving to Alaska. So we are scrambling to see if we can replace that student. So that's a conversation that we can have offline to see what our options are of filling that position. So our budget modification, we originally, because we had no idea what we would, what students we would be recruiting, I think we targeted 3 in-school and 3 out-of-school youth, but we only ended up with, I believe, 1 out-of-school youth. So depending on if we can recruit a replacement, then we'll make that budget modification accordingly to make sure that that all works out.
Okay. And then you, okay. And then you guys are coming in for a modification as well. Okay. And your Illinois Worknet system and iWood system is showing your 6 individuals?
Yes.
And so the one that's moving, have you already stopped the services in iWood so we can show that the services?
We have not. We're still on break, and so nobody's around.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay.
So we'll get to that.
All right.
So yeah, but I'm here and scrambling to get this other slot filled. So we will get on that at the end of the week, I believe, is when our program manager is returning.
Okay. Just send us an email, like I said, and let us know once you have that meeting with the program manager and give us an update, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
All right. OAI?
Good morning. Don's on the line, so I'll defer to him. Don? Okay. Hello, Don? Okay, so OAI, for the one program, Lisa already gave the update on that one. We had 19, well, on this side we had 9, and they started their internship yesterday. Then for the other one, the apprenticeship program, we have 8, I believe, enrolled with Rich East. That is the in-school portion. And if Lisa, are you still there? Because Lisa, BCS
yes, I'm still here.
Yeah, hi, Lisa. Please, can you help out with the numbers as far as IWIT for the apprenticeship, the Rich East group?
Eddie would be best suited,
Okay.
and he stepped away from his desk. I can go and look for him.
Okay.
This is Jim. What IWS shows right now, there's 7 clients that are currently having documented services of pre-apprenticeship, vocational exploration, and leadership development.
Okay. All right. So that is the Rich East program, and there's supposed to be 8. Then 8 we had 9. 2 of them, ended up not being able to bring all the eligible documentation because, they came out of they were in the foster system. However, we are right now recruiting and doing outreach for the next cohort that is supposed to start in Prairie State College with the spring semester. So that starts in on January 17th.
Okay. And who's keeping your clients' folders and eligibility stuff? Where is that being housed?
BCS is.
Okay.
Yeah, we're serving as the case manager for IWIDS.
Okay. And how many did you say you currently have receiving services?
7.
You thought?
7 for the in-school youth program.
7 for the in-school youth.
Yeah, for the in-school youth. For the the other one with BCS that Lisa reported on this end, on the Southland, that will be us, and that is 9 of them. That
9 in that group.
Okay. Yeah, They started
Yeah,
it yesterday.
that's the Career Pathways one with us. And then the Rich East one is the one directly with you, with OAI, with you guys.
Right.
Gotcha.
It can get a little confusing because
It can.
we're their subcontractor for the case
Subcontracting.
management for the Rich East program, the pre-apprenticeship, and they're our subcontractor for the Manufacturing Pathways program.
Gotcha. And for OAI, I also show 4 that are in the incurrent status in the IWDS. So we would probably want to see if those individuals are going to be participating and need to be moved to the registrant.
Okay.
I don't believe that those are. I believe all 7 are completed as far as moving to the registrant status.
Okay. So everybody that's going to be served has been moved.
For the in-school, their out-of-school side of their program has not started yet.
Okay. Okay. And it looks like that's everybody that we had on the phone today. Is there any groups that that we missed or anything, or anybody that thought of something while another group was talking? Go ahead now.
Could I jump in with an announcement about the focus groups?
Yes.
Wonderful. Hi, everyone. This is Erin Steva with Young Invincibles. And I wanted to flag that in the next week or so, I'll be reaching out to a few of you to start scheduling another round of focus groups with your young adults that you're working with. So you'll see an email from a group called Young Invincibles, and I know that that might raise a question if I hadn't flagged it. So just wanted to put that on your radar. Looking forward to continuing that conversation offline.
Okay. And just in case anyone joined the call late, I just want to reiterate again the quarterly reports, the ones that you did, which was the PPR form and the PFR forms. Those are due on the 30th of this month. If you have any questions, I am free to help you guys with that. Please don't wait till the last minute to turn those in. I know those are new forms that we filled out for the first time last quarter. And so if you need any more guidance or anything on that, we're here, we're available. Also, like I said, the formal monitoring is starting and it will be completed within the first quarter of this year. So please go ahead and get those folders, go get your eligibility. Make sure that, like I said, the clients you're seeing in Illinois Worknet are also in IWIDS. If you have any questions about anything, please make sure you're putting Tammy, myself, and Jim on an email regarding your eligibility issues. Any modifications, go ahead and send us a quick email and say, hey, Terra Scott Incorporated would like to submit a modification based off of this. What do I need to do? What's the next step? So we can go ahead and start having those discussions regarding your modifications. Is there anything else, Jim, Tammy?
Nope. It's really good that the folks that are on the call seem to have a grasp of it. My concern is the people that aren't on the call.
I know, and I am sending an email right after this. It's quite a few, so we need to have a discussion regarding that offline. Tammy, you have anything?
No, I think, the data's starting to get cleaned up in the system. Jim's been doing a phenomenal job reaching out to you guys, too, to try and move clients and figure out where things are at. So our big push was eligibility and making sure that we're moving people from incurrent to registered status in the IWDS system, and that it correlates with a Worknet system. The next move is going to be looking at services and making sure that services are in and documented correctly, and so that'll be our next push.
Awesome. Chelsea, I did something not smart and I clicked something. Can you send me the poll from today's meeting? That way I can reach out to the other organizations that weren't on here. Mm-hmm. If no one else has anything else, thank you so much, everyone, for your time. And like I said, if you have any questions, please reach out to us so we can just get these grants moving along. Don't forget about those quarterly reports. So, all right. Thank you guys for your